All right, we're coming to you live from Moose Factory, Moose Creek First Nation at the Community Hall. This is August 23rd. We're here as part of a tour, which we're going around to all the communities, or Mushkegowuk communities, to listen to the people. And we have the Grand Chief, Friday, the Grand Chief, Wesley, the Grand Chief, Natasha. And we also have some staff here that will be talking about some of the projects that they are working on. We have quite a few department heads that are helping deliver all of these various programs on behalf of communities, with the communities. And somebody was just saying, we just got a new committee member here that was one of the founders of Mushkegowuk many years ago, Stricker, and we're kind of blaming him for things the way they are now. There's so many people here, so much stuff that we're doing. But it's just good to see where Mushkegowuk has now come since it was formed back in 1984. Since 1984, it's gone through a lot, but it's been mostly growth. And today is growing with over 120 staff. There's each of dozen different programs and many sub-programs for each of those programs. So we just want to give an opportunity to the Grand Chiefs, to start off with a summary of what they do in their jobs, because Mushkegowuk is unique in that we are elected by the people. Each member of the Mushkegowuk community has the opportunity to vote for these positions in a very democratic way, and unlike any other tribal councils across Canada. So we have a unique way of governing ourselves, and this is why it's important for them to hear from you. If you have any comments or questions that you like to express or ask questions, then it's open. And that's the way we've been wanting to do this. And we represent coastal communities, and here are the people up there too. There's all the changes that are going on in our society, in our country, in our territory, in the province. There's a lot of challenges, a lot of threats that are coming. And it's really an opportunity for things to change more. So this is what we're hoping to hear people talk about, is what are they thinking, or what's going on. We see a lot of mining companies and industry moving into the territory, and how do you respond to all of that that's going on? And how do we equip our people? How do we educate our people so that they will be ready to handle the new onslaught of the industry and government regulations that are coming in? So that's what we wanted to hear. We are now starting to have these conversations with community members, and they're quite different. We're not in opposition to resource development, but we keep saying that we have to be part of whatever happens in our territory. And this is what we're beginning to hear, and we just want to hear a little bit more from the people of what they think about all of that. Écoutez ce document. Aşağı geldi maçtan. Aşağı. Aşağı işgal. Ya. Como que va a haber document y pitch por pana. Okay. Okay. Aşağı pitch çıkarttı o. Swego internet पर कहाँ पे start pitch तमक pitch के pitch के वो मालूम है and it definitely wanna have a look at it. Maybe Abbottstein or Abbottstein. So feel free to speak Cree, French, or English. We have Joe here in the community. He's going to be our translator if we start speaking French. So we'll now turn it over to Grand Chief Bill Friday for his opening comments. Grand Chief.
Mushkegowuk kechali mutikati nikanjiki pakitinikeun nesamaga ayugo awichi kuya kandoke naskomitwene nigona mamaga iyakon imastigona makugon ego mana tukisten saban egachu wani kiyakani egona ninateke atene kiskente nasiya ekita kokite basa nikeun yakuma naskomitwene netego tegia naskomitwene gani bete mutitano kitawano teke asaya agamistewuchi balik Wesley samaga wiki kusir egona kawiki chibut utege kuchibulo kitawano kaitate egomaga nasuja kentawar Kecil nasi pun nama kita semetul atau yang miskin jen api sih apa kue bercerita api sih sebelum gue apa anjus nas semetul naga beta uskin nas semetul naga beta terus kembali ke dia egoando usted tapi nasi beta kumana nas semetul egomaga Ikiskenji nano maga eti wanastaya kama shoji no doske animation out. Tawina tumiloshin gitte ametu tamak ega teke bestuyak matega uma weshat gagi nasu gagi masino tutunan makupot uma masinay kanti kanua patama kuya sego meno sego maga dinana ka toilet tama super wing se nestel miswe sego na ka mutya maga kendo nesta ke gona ke tike sego maga maskutra isa sunna sab ispalege tigina kumudikillo yaitu negasi goma atus kio ina nana sebal soya ina nana segi keben sama ina nana segi soya egon gede dute gate ego maga shagut asrios kini gogat se pasiko uske pemate sak eme kuskate lemate kutuas mesuo usesemo egono maga Tuita patiki makko kono mitikade semukai ego majo tena makko kono lagi ke demi kuya kupane sakina nana kuya au sini sandai itu mudayara ego mane sta ego na tabe sebagai tena ketua mo muna tembali itu na dosa mana sahaja maga Kepililiman no habis guru kemakan nistewa nistago na nano gewono ini nistewa lebih ke ini nistewa no terluasi nanti agak itu ka kepembali buya pertega na nisna biaski ni sinustep sebagai sinaran lagi guru mo surya na aikin masamuna egomaga muna begitu nikau Juliani ke mau nesta dua gestura mau begitu na Juliana untuk emek kukios makan untuk sepuluh jadi milik kau orang ini luas dia kita magios dia terus seperti gua kita kembali soal apa ya kita terus negatif kita tahu nama Nomor Newak Nudestano Rumah Nyanano bahkan itu balik ke siap pun mungkin kekilan ini tu Nyanano tiaw ke pada kuliah ayawat nabiasi Rumah Nyanano di Ukinahuman, nagabagit sila ko. Sinabi at pinatamaga, pinanano muna, negwagit tayo ano, nagabigay ko, ipupus ka ano, negwag. Isasalamat sila matulong balitin, nagkitaw, Urian, Yusuf, Pamasik laki, Abadyan, kita tinulis natin kung kaya ay siya film mo yan isilang balikan. Ikone ya atit ke bona sagur magan ya anima macnai kan gaji kamu betul ega dikit sama halim kama anima mulai ke kita kan mulai ke company mereka nggak balik ke Korea nih sama itu kamu winobo Korea nih ketemu di kumaga emas saya kumaga mula kirikon kakak kita no kita masih pasti kan tuh jaga tinggi Natasha saya kirikon nggak dulu saya aku sana kirikon lima kirikon kami berkaitan sama kumaga kami berkaitan teknis mesti dulu tadi jadi Julian yang kita dapat masuk rumah kegiatan kita no Amos ya mana komitmen kegiatan yang kita kayak mulai lagi kemarin mesti kita kantor Julian ikan deket Egonama tuikan di kona kaya teman di masyarakat kita percaya dengan kepastian Egona garan balisono ni kita gimana kayak dia Egomaga bisa request Christian Christian Lingman. I hope everybody understood what I said. Especially early. Anyways, I'll just summarize what I said earlier in the week, and I'm very like and very respectful of this language and the people in our area are happy that I use a language that is good. And I know a lot of our young people have lost it and they're trying to come back and learn it after they finish the schooling and learning in down south. I am also glad that I'm here in Mushkegowuk once again, and very happy to see some familiar faces. And even though there is only 4 people from this community, and a lot of our staff are here. And yeah, it is important maybe to share the work that we do in the Mushkegowuk Council office and the files that are very important that we like to talk about is one of them is treaty. This is the most important file that we get from the government. Ontario already have said that we will give you a table. So it's coming and we haven't started yet, but later on, I guess in the following days or following months, Egan to talk to Ontario government in Canada about a treaty that our forefathers agreed, and maybe to discuss it about the things that our people believe in, and also there are a lot of things that were said and in Canada, and the community sometimes asks about them, and the thing is that our mothers carry those, and they pass it along to us, and and those are the things that we should incorporate in this table. I know sometimes funding is really slow coming in, but we are still making and asking and requesting some dollars to come in and to have some kind of treaty conferences with our people in each of the community and to talk about them. And it's very important for our people to hear or gather information so we can incorporate it into our office and do what we can to make things happen with the treaty. But in some places, there are a lot of litigation in fighting a treaty, and some people have won many cases, especially our neighbors down south got a lot of money from the annuity payments, but the thing is that they have to pay a lot of money to the lawyers, and this is the thing. When we had our meetings with the Mushkegowuk chiefs, I believe it was last year, about this time in September, and again in May of this year. And there was another meeting in July about it, and Missionary Cree went ahead and hired a lawyer to work on his own annuity case, which is membership. And the other person went along with Missionary Cree, which is Chapo Cree First Nation. And the other chiefs at that time, during our discussion on this case, they say that they don't want anybody to speak or work or work on their case for them because they know each community are a little bit different, and and they wanted to do their own thing, especially mostly cash, Robert and money, and same thing with the PTM. And they want to somehow go on their own and do what they can do to get that $3 lifted to what it should be in today's currency. And I really believe that each First Nation should be able to talk for its community and for its people. And the thing that worries me is the amount of dollars when go with the lawyer, they charge a lot of money. Like what happened to I don't know which chief was saying that they want those lawyers wanted to have some kind of payment of $500 million for what they did for those 10 communities in Iran. And I don't know where that money came from to be paid, or and thinking that should it come from their people, or there is money available from IFC to pay those lawyers the amount that they charge. And those are the things that we should think about and make sure where the money is going to come from when you pay fees for the lawyers. And talking to some people, elders in the community, and they say that once this is through, and every First Nation that got or wins the case understood it would be a precedent for them. So in any case that will come up in the later years and what we do, maybe just to negotiate with the government and talk to government on First Nation, government to government table. So this way, I believe a lot of people will save a lot of money for their membership when they pay someone that will do some kind of facilitating or negotiating for them. So with that, the other thing that we have, which is also a big well, is the National Marine Conservation. We did a lot of presentations in the communities in the past 2 years, and I think maybe 6 communities have agreed already that they wanted to run their own program and work on their own laws and guidelines and policies for the bay that every First Nation that will control them. And because of this state, I think it's a good idea, and it makes powers to First Nations when they have their own autonomy in each of the communities. And I believe also it will give them a lot of power when it comes from the community and supporting each other, how they wanted to set laws onto the bay, because a lot of fuel has been traveling in Hudson Bay from Atlantic and so forth, and now the government is talking about the seaport in this area, and also I guess back in 1986 or 85, the government of Canada and Ontario were talking about the canal in the James Bay. And these are the things that are really important to take control of our bay and lands in the area that we, as our fathers and forefathers, survived from. And this project, the amount of money that the government will give to First Nations will support a lot of people that go on the land and help those people to work on their land for such as we do in the past, working, trapping, fishing, hunting. And also there is also a talk about that the money will be there to build their cabin where they used to hunt and live every year when 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 falls, autumn, and winter and springs come around. And I think it will benefit a lot of our people that love to go onto the land. And also I think it's important for our trappers to have these people supported that that what's been doing in the past. So I think we will have a better understanding, and when we begin to work on them individually, like Arwabisket, Port Albany, and Moose Creek, and other people who wants to go on their own to govern their faith, land, waters, and air. And these are the things that maybe, and I believe it will help us if we support these people that what they love doing. And as of now, a lot of our creeks, rivers are dammed because of the overgrowth of beaver, and nobody, like maybe only some people afford to go on their land, and a lot of them just couldn't go anywhere because of the lack of funding, lack of assistance from any program that we run at the community level. In any case, we we have the right to take control of our land, programs, projects that the government runs for us. Would change a lot to our people, and it will make more flexibility to those that can do and go and set laws on their own area and 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 in the community as a whole. I think laws have been talked about, policies and guidelines came from governments, and our laws have been talked about with our chiefs, elders, and young people are starting to talk about them now. But the thing is, we never, at least I never see any laws that are written in the book or in any file that 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 they talk about. It's important maybe to begin writing down our own laws, that what we remember our people as in their days of hunting, working, fishing, and do all kind of things during their time. But I know for sure they never came into deficit when they handled their own affairs in their land. But that's when the government became involved, is when that our people were in trouble. And I think maybe, but first, one AFN chief was saying that we should begin write our own laws from the community, and how we should write them would come from the elders, and those are the things that I talked about earlier to become to control and take our own administrations that the government run for us. And I believe a lot of our people will benefit because, for one thing, that indigenous representative organization that funding, which we don't have in the Mushkegowuk office, goes to Anishinaabe office, and we never got any dime from them to support our organization. And I think what we're trying to do, since I don't know how many years now it takes, that money and put it into our Mushkegowuk office so we can advocate more communities what they want and what we can do for them. I think it's important that we, as leaders of the Mushkegowuk territory, should do more if we have that kind of funding that people are. You know, one thing that I wanted to explain, what our people notice, our Mushkegowuk people work in the Anishinaabe nation. And for example, which is, let's see, an education, for example. If the money poured into Anishinaabe nation, the understanding that I got from these people that work in that area as the ECOs, executive directors, they say this is the money that comes from in one pot, and that money, it says that people, the First Nations, should get this amount and that amount and this amount and so and so on, and what happened is the Anishinaabe is creating a department in this organization to hire a director and some staff and pay travel, administration, office, rentals, and so forth. And still, out of that, the large percentage from that money, and what's left goes to the community. And that's concerns me. Like, I don't think it should go that way because government should fund that person that's taking care of this program at that level. And the thing that bothers me, I just spoke about the treaty, and and the treaty says that we are the First Nation people that wouldn't pay any tax or anything else. When you live in the community like a reservation. The government should have taken care of us, and that isn't happening. And those are the things that our people, our elders have talked about in the past that we should. That's why we want to stay to talk about these things that our elders have been talked to us about. And I think this IRO would benefit our organization and the communities to do more. And yeah, it is a good way maybe to step forward with this organization, and I think I believe the national chief when you say that start making your own laws, and I think we should begin making our own laws because our elders have been saying that's my land. This is my land, and this I should create my own law out of these areas that my parents survived from. And that's all I wanted to say now. English.
Are you going to have open forum now so we can ask questions? Because you guys are done at 3 o'clock, right? And are we going to be able to voice our concerns? Yeah, go ahead. Gumagamit yung Pilates ng Natasha. Naglalabot siya ng Creek. I wanted to ask, did Mushkegowuk Council, like you receive funding for all coastal communities, right? Does that include Moose Creek?
When it comes to funding from Mushkegowuk Council, we don't take funding away from organizations like from First Nations. How we were told and how we have always worked, even me as a director, I used to be director of mission building, and I would apply for funds. There are different streams and different pots that we can tap into, and we can't tap into First Nation community funds. That's not something we're allowed to do. So, and right from the get-go, we don't fit that criteria, so we can't even go there.
So you're saying that it's not separate, all this money for all the communities, is what you're saying?
What's your question?
My question is, like, you guys receive money for all the communities along the coast, right? Like, how many Mushkegowuk communities are there?
There's 7.
Okay. Is Moose Creek included in there as well?
Moose Creek included in that.
Yeah. Okay, so you receive funding from Moose Creek as well?
It all depends, and even then, when it comes to Moose Creek, I guess I need to know what you're getting at. Like, okay. What's your end question? Just so that I can really answer it properly.
So for funding, because we don't get, like, we only get a certain amount of funding. Yeah. So are we able to get funding from Mushkegowuk Council or Moose Creek?
Oh, okay, I see what you're saying. Okay. So with that, as a political leader, I really can't answer that. But I appreciate the question, and this is what this is for, so that I can take that question back to who needs the answer. I would have had Dennis Wabbam here to answer that question.
Yeah, I was hoping, like, because you guys have all this listed,
Yeah.
all the program or whatever
Yeah.
you guys have here, like,
Yeah.
you're sitting here and you can ask questions to. So
Yeah.
what is the use of having a committee meeting like this?
Well, the community meeting was designed to really have conversations with us and to really answer all your questions. And I don't want to be that person that says, okay, I'll take it back. No, but I really want to answer it for you. Because I don't want to leave anything
So
open.
you're restricted to answer my question.
I'm not saying that, no, I'm not saying that right now. I can honestly say, Rita, I don't know the answer. So I have to find out the answer for you.
Okay. So another question. If there was monies received for primary care, okay, but, so this is where we're kind of confused. Who's created and sign on? It's all the time we hear this all the time that who's created not sign on, and I think that's the reason why we're not getting money. So I just want to clarify.
Are you talking about Walmart?
No, from like with you guys, like because you guys have primary care and Timmins, Mushkegowuk Health. You know that they're under you guys, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So where do they get their funding? Okay.
So just to let you know where that help comes from, I can get it from their political. In terms of specifics, with each of the funders, that would be Janice Wabano, who's currently the health director. If you have very specific questions,
I'm sorry, excuse me. We emailed her. We tried and we get a hold of her. No response.
okay, you can email. And you can also speak to people. Then you can get
So who's the CEO of
funding?
Who's the CEO?
If I can say to you, when it's time for me to present and discuss, I also hold the health portfolio. But again, that's at the higher level of things here. Like I don't touch administration issues. But if you want to add me to that CC as well, most definitely feel free to add me to that. And so I'm writing down your questions. But again, that's why we're here. You know, any concerns that people have, I don't want people to not have answers. Because that's my job. I'm accountable to you because you put it here. So I'm accountable to you. So I really want to convey that, and I'm taking all concerns here today very seriously. So I just want you to know that I do want to resolve whatever issues we have today.
So
it might not be today, but you know what I mean? Like, we can start the process. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So I'm not getting a direct answer.
You're not going to get a direct answer today.
Janice is the one that can do that. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. But then again.
But then, yeah, we had no success in it.
But then you're bringing it to me now. Okay? So it's at my table now. It's at my desk. So I'll help you.
Yeah, because speaking on behalf of other programs too as well, like, we always run out of funding. And, so my one question, I don't know if you can answer this as well, like, because you guys have a, what do you call the land-based detox and healing program, right? And this goes to an individual. So what to my understanding, like, is it an individual that runs this program? Like, I know he has a group of people. Like, you already have a detox program, right? Right, plan and detox. So, but Moose Cree organization has this as well. But I know they always run out of funds. So this would benefit with, like, I know this is such a political thing. Like, I don't like doing political stuff, but then yet you see what our people go through. We have Moose Creek band members that are struggling, and we need more things here. We need more funding for a lot of programs. Like, does Mushkegowuk Health have a harm reduction program in this factory?
The thing is too, from what we understand, is we're constant within the community and years. You know what I mean? And when it comes to struggling and people, we see that right across the territory, and it's a really big issue, and we deal with that every day, and we see it every day. So I understand the seriousness of the struggles as well. I mean, I still consider Wood Factory very much my home. And I come home, and it's really sad to see all the boarded up home. And I know why they're boarded up. So it is sad. So I really, again, that's part of my presentation and what I'm going to present with these other things that my office does. You know what I mean? And again, like I take everything you're saying. I don't want you to think that I'm not taking it seriously. I do, because I work with that every day.
Yeah, we're so restricted. Like, we only can do so much for our community. Like, we don't get money for op reserve, but then yet we get it just on reserve, and that's just that part of it. The government loves what we're doing. They love for all of us to be fighting against each other like this.
That's the goal, right?
And work together.
Yeah, and we do want to work together. Again, that's why we're here.
Yeah.
We want to know how we can make life better, even in the smallest, simplest way.
Yeah, so it's like, I don't know, it's always the same thing. It's hard, it's sad to see that, like, the communities like Mushkegowuk and Moose Cree and Quebec are on the same island, but then yet we can't work together. Just imagine if we put all our money together. Oh my God, how much stuff can we do? We can have a nice building, a new health center. Like, work together. We're all one person, one people here. Yeah. So I just, like, it kind of hurts, like, seeing our community like this. Maybe this reason why some people go on the wrong road. Like, there's only Moose Cree that's trying to help them. Especially with the harm reduction program. Like, I don't know. It's the same thing when I ask is, okay, you guys probably have money there, but then yet you don't have enough money. So that's not the only issue I have here. Like, our moms, our pregnant moms. I'm going to give you an example. Like 20 years ago, they get vouchers, like $50. What does $50 purchase? What can they purchase with $50? It's been land for 20 years now. They should be getting more than that. I even tried asking Waha for it. So, I don't know, just give me an example. Like, it's our people. Let's try to improve our communities and try and work together.
Oh, and I feel that.
Yeah. You got to
Hello. I just wanted to echo a little bit of what Rita had said in regards to health. As I work in the home care community, and I'm the coordinator for our elder population. As Rita had said throughout the entire community, we are working in silos, whether don't see it or not, it is happening right before our eyes. And my theory is, my opinion is the government is throwing funding to different organizations because they want to see us get mad at each other and work against each other. That's the way I see it. I'm now 50 years old and I'm getting up there in age, just like everybody else. The one thing I think I would really like to see is our elder population are very much struggling to this day. Not just here, as well in Timmins. I know you guys are working with primary care. I think it's something that we need to bring forward in regards to, yes, the hospital's being built and there's going to be 37 beds. Realistically, we know that's not enough. It would be nice if we had home lodging in each community. As we stand now, Attawakaskat now has a home care community, home care starting, which is great. I believe cash is not so much grown in that area yet. And we want people to stay within the communities, but financially that's not happening. Like right now, as it stands in where I work, we have 8 PSWs and we serve 50 people within this factory that need different unique services, whatever it may be. But we don't get, we're fortunate enough here, but not in the other communities. It's not like that. And my heart goes out to them because they're going to be passing away elsewhere without family. That's something that needs to be really discussed. I know there's other areas, as Rita had mentioned, about prenatal, people are going out to have babies, and there's a lot more than all this, but it would be good that we do work together. And it would be good to have this pot and then, distribute the money. But I see things happening where within the communities, for disability children, special needs, and they're fortunate enough in Timmins to get all this. They have a lot of supports there. But what about the supports all the way up and down the coast? There could be people going up there to provide that. I know it's hard because of our location of living, but there has to be other supports. And I think that's something that everybody needs to look at instead of, it's good there's things in Timmins for people that are residing in Timmins, but you cannot lose that visual field up in that area. And I do see certain things going up there, certain specialties and things like that, but it's not consistent. There's no transparency. There's WAHA is the other, they get funding too. We're how many in this factory right now? There's a total of what, maybe 3,500, if not population. We have WAHA, we have Mushkegowuk, we got more Quebec, all trying to get the same funding. And that's, to me, that's a waste of time, waste of energy, when all this money could be being used. So let's work together. And I think the side of it needs to be changed for that to happen.
Thank you, Donna. I guess if I can say, I'd like to connect with both of you, and maybe at some point, if not today, then even email. You can actually have a little, from what I'm getting from you, feel like there's movement and so I don't want to say that I'm not. So I have you guys listed. I guess if I can go ahead, I don't know if you can even speak. So I'll go ahead. Natasha Martin, Deputy Grand Chief. I was a part of Roots Creek Station at one point. I did transfer to TCN about 20 years ago. I do most definitely still call Roots Factory home. Roots Factory is where I'm from, and my granny's still here. My mom was from here. She works here, and I still feel very much a part of the community. And you know, a lot of people see me grow up, see me, to see me grow up. I lived here. I raised my son here as well, and until I went away for university. Did you have a question on this? Did you have a question? Yeah, go ahead.
Rich. Thank you. I'm just going to give me some time to speak on this. I think it'd be a long issue in the history or anything that we need to acknowledge. When you visit the communities to listen to the people, I thank you to give us the opportunity. And I would like to speak to, from my experience and knowledge, what I have gone through working with these Aboriginal issues. Just first to acknowledge that I worked with Grand Council Treaty Number 9. I started in 1973, and in the date I started to meet where all these issues are from our community elders who were part of the, I would say, Grand Council Treaty Number 9. At the time, it was Andrew Rickard that started as a Grand Council president, and he is also a former chief of Moose Factory. I just wanted to acknowledge that, the things that we're talking about today, and the things that we have gone through before the treaty, and we went through that before the treaty. I'd like to first of all acknowledge my grandfather, Frank Rickard. What he talked about, what he was interviewed, was who we kind of give us guidance of our lives before we signed a treaty. He spoke that when he wanted to go and hunt, he had these dreams that was given by the Creator. And when he was given that, he was told the rules that he had to follow, what he needed to do when he was hunting, fishing, and trapping. That was even before the treaty. And what he did was that he followed that. That regulated him how he had to do things for his life. And he spoke to that. When he dreamed, he told where he was to go on fish trap. And what it is that he had to honor that. And when he honored it, he has to tell the people how it is, or tell his own family. So that was something that's very important. It was our guidance of who we are as Aboriginal people. Know that he acknowledged that. And the Creator was something who really owned and controlled the land that we were using, that we were having. It's not so much of the individual. I will say this with respect. It's not that individual family or persons that own the land. It was our Creator that controlled that. Because when you abuse their trapping and things are not done right, our Creator then takes those things away from you and gives it to someone else who owns and respects the hunting and fishing trapping. And this is something that we had to be regulated by our Creator before the treaty was signed. So now that we are into this system here, that we have to now understand, it's just that in, I would say 1800, when everything else was coming into regulate us, how to traffic.
Just try to move on with this, what I'm talking about. In 1905, when the treaty was signed, we start to realize certain things that life is changing for us 300 years that we lived with the trades, Hudson Bay. Things changed. And then we try to look at what kind of an economy is coming, changing our way of life or something like this happened. We knew that some things had to be done. So when we did that, we look at those things, and that's why some of the options we look at what would be the best process for our treaty. And in that process that we were looking at, we start to understand certain things we have to try to look at things to even regulate ourselves. And what we need to do today is something when we start to organize our way of life. The first thing that happened to us is that after we signed a treaty, we were given the Indian Act. We were given regulations of the federal government that existed. And that kind of took everything away from us that we had our way of life. And when we try to look at this, we got to understand when the federal government started running their own laws and so forth, they used that under Section 91 of the Constitution. You don't have to be a lawyer to understand that. And then the province did Section 92 of their Constitution, which how they kind of regulate the provincial process. It's clearly understood. It's not complicated. But we as a First Nation had to start to look at the things to write our own laws. So we need to do that where we need to go. But we haven't, we have tried, we've done a lot of drafting of some of these constitutions, some of the things we need to do. Andrew Rickard did a lot of this work when he initially started. And when he put in the Declaration of Independence in 1977, he wrote that. And that was the foundation. So we're still not there yet, and we're supposed to be there. But as we organize as a First Nation, and I would say like Mushkegowuk Council and Mishnah-Bijeski Nation, we had all these programs and services. But under that program and services, we are regulated by the provincial policies and procedures, but we're not there yet. We haven't done our own constitution and our laws. That's what we should be doing. That is something that we made an effort, but we're not even there yet. But I don't know why we're taking so long, because we're not, reinventing the laws and the rules, because these are the things that we have to do. And we're not even anywhere near that yet. And those are the things that we have to really try to understand. And right now we are trying to look at the industry, and we're being challenged also by the federal government when they start to write their, Bill 5 and Bill C5 by the federal government and the province. These are the things that are challenging us and taking things away. But I think we have to now move to write our Constitution, write our laws. And when you let's say, start to put your, departments here, the First Nations have their own departments too. So what we need is our Constitution and our laws that would regulate and control and manage all the funding and everything else that we can do independently. But we're not even under there yet. We're just under the Indian Act. We're still, they've been regulated. The old Indian affairs, status quo. We have to change. But right now, we're not changing. We're still bureaucrats. So when you ask for, to listen to people, I'm trying to share with you of my experience and knowledge where we need to go, what we need to do. And, there are people that have spoken, our elders, the people who are former chiefs who are, the First and Second War, war veterans. They know what those issues are, what that needs to be dealt with. Today, for example, most tree ends up into mining, energy, forestry, in terms of our right-of-way agreements. But we still have to get organized how we can manage that system. There are changes, and we're not really educating and helping our young people to learn those things. And when we first start to look at these industries here, when I first was hired to deal with that, it was in 2005 when I was hired to deal with this. And when I started that there, these are the new industries that we have to look at. The funding sources that we get outside of the Indian Affairs, program and services. It was the new funding. But now we have to create a new funding process and how we manage for our economy, the economic development systems. We have to do that under those new funding money that we're getting. And those monies are in the millions. So we're not really looking at the things we need to do, but we need the Constitution and our laws to do that, to regulate us, to get outside of the Indian Act where we are today. Today we have Section 35 under the 1982 Constitution that talks about those foundations that we have. So we've got to build on that. We've got to work on that. But we're not going there. Who are we listening to? Sometimes I hate to say this. These lawyers, sometimes these consultants that we pay them to do something for us. They don't seem to be listening to us. We want them to listen to them. They tell us, listen to me. This is what the system, what the government, federal, provincial government thinking. But we don't realize that we should be telling them this is what we think. This is what our land, this is who we are, and this is what belongs to us. We want to tell you how to write the Constitution, but that's not to reinvent the language, because the English language is a universal language. We got to get up on our feet and start to deal with those things. I know I've been dealing with engineers, lawyers, consultants. I've been dealing with them. And what I've been telling them is what I know and what I've been experiencing in my life since the day I started the Grand Council Committee number 9. I worked with the Ontario Chiefs. I worked with Mushkegowuk. I worked also associated with the Chiefs of Ontario. I know what those issues and everything else are. And I know what the community situations and what those things are, where we need to go now. I know that. But where I've been experiencing and where I've been having this knowledge and everything else that I haven't spoken to any, First Nation, even that needs to be, not so much teaching, but talking of my experience and letting them know what needs to be done, how it should be done. Even now as an elder, at my position, even now as an elder, to do that. I hate to say this, I haven't even spoken to leadership. I haven't spoken to leadership. They didn't ask me. They haven't asked me. Earlier, you're the former chief, you work for Union, Mushkegowuk, you work for, you work for Mushkegowuk. Because nobody even asked me, can I share you something, what I experienced when I worked for Mushkegowuk? When Cash won the case for the Ontario Workers Program, they won that case against the province on that program. So they had to develop their own policies for their interest. When I was working for NAN, I worked for child welfare policy pilot project. I worked for the welfare system on that project system. We got funded from Indian Affairs from Toronto. When I got there, I started that program in 2002 when I started. And then what happened was that we were doing so well with the project that there was something that Indian Affairs didn't like it. And what is, what's that, the provincial didn't like that Ontario welfare program. They didn't like that when we were organizing it with stop yesterday. And I was doing it as a pilot project for 8, stop yesterday. Communities, 8. It's a pilot project. And we can regulate it and look after it ourselves when it's successful. Then what happened was that we were doing so well that somebody from the Department of Indian Affairs in Toronto at the regional office told me, your program by Mr. Bisky doing to control your child welfare or control by your welfare system, they told me it's been really well organized. It's going to be a successful program that you're going to manage and control. I was told by a retired person from Toronto, and then not long after that, I was told that your program is going to be cut off. You're going to lose that funding. And then within the following 2 months, when I was working for land, Indian Affairs in Toronto regional office called me with cutting your program. And I was working for land. I was working with 2 very important total programs. We were supposed to end up controlling that and running it ourselves. That money was cut off. And then when that happened, I told my deputy grand chief, when I was working with him, the chief, that we're going to have to go and see we'll say, in Ottawa, in Affairs, tell them, you guys are crazy, you guys are cutting our funding. This is for our people. This is where we look after those things that we can do the program ourselves. But that political decision, the administration of the regional office of Toronto made that decision. And they cut the program. And then when the new funding year that was supposed to come in 2004, there was no money there. That very successful project that I was doing in Mushkegowuk from 2000 to 2004, they killed that program. Non-program, they killed it. But can I say this? But I want to be very careful when I say this. I say this also with respect, but not to, let's say, discriminate anybody or insult anybody. We are supposed to fight what those treaty rights are, our values. When the regional office cut that funding from Toronto, we were supposed to politically fight that and say, you guys are violating our treaty rights. This is the program that we're supposed to manage, control it, and run it as our own law system. Child welfare. So this is what's going on sometimes. With some consultants or Indian Affairs and everything else, they're not really trying to take us serious or look after what those things that we have a concern, what those things that we have. I know what I'm referring to. I know what it is what we have gone through. And I don't hesitate at all in what I'm saying and when I can understand this. I don't want it to be, today when we talk about our Creator as an Aboriginal priest, as Aboriginal people, the poetry. That Creator gave us guidance and control of our way of life. And in the United States, I'll say this, in the United States, the 13 nations and the 13 states, what happened they did? What they did with when they wanted to write their Constitution? They used the 10 Commandments as a guidance to write their Constitution. And also when, Canada started to do their own things, when they start to look at that development process, it was Toronto and Southern, let's say, that start the process, and then Montreal, the 2 kind of governmental agencies started to put their own constitution. And they start to use their own Catholic systems and the Anglican system. But I want to just acknowledge that with we as a First Nation, that was our foundation from our Creator. And today we know those systems and understand those systems because even my grandfather mentioned that. He acknowledged what those those missionaries had came in. He says we have there's only one God. We mentioned that and that respected that. So these are the things that we all have to acknowledge. I was just given notice here. We were given me a couple of more minutes, but I just wanted to thank you for giving this opportunity for you guys to know what I need, know and understand where we need to go. There's so much work to do and to communicate. So just give me that opportunity where the things that need to be acknowledged. But there's so many different issues and things that needs to be done. And we gotta start to build on that declaration of independence here from 1977 that was put together, declaring our own constitution and laws.
I really appreciate everything that you shared. When it comes to constitution, both Deputy Grand Chief Amos and I were with the Nation Building Department. I was actually director, and we worked with the Constitution, and we've seen the work that was done, and we took that to the community. And there's still lots of work that has to be done. So I appreciate everything you've done because I've seen your name to a lot of things that I've read over the last few years that I've been at Mushkegowuk. So keep it, and let's thank you for all your amazing work. And before I go on, we do have a plane to catch, and we still have presentations from the other deputy and I. So if we can just take some time to give some space to both Deputy Grand Chief Wesley and I, and I'll go first. I'll go as quickly as I can. And we're here for another little bit. And I still see that people are online, so I hope that they'll stick with us, so to speak. So this is a very different executive you see before you. There's two of us, there's two deputies, and we've been working together with the Grand Chief on many different files. And people always say, well, you don't even should come up here, come up to the factory. No, I totally disagree with that. As per our election code within the Mushkegowuk Council election code, it clearly states, that both deputy service not both, like all of the territories, but I really wanted to start with that. That's where I come from. That I service every person within the Mushkegowuk territory. And as the Grand Chief stated, that we all have important files. Another role that I see myself is that I support the Grand Chief. And whatever he needs or requests from my office, that I do it to the best of my ability in that assistance. So when we first met, Grand Chief gave us portfolios to work with, and they're all pretty big, and there's somewhere the three of us together are on joint portfolios, especially the bigger ones. But I have help, and health was very new to me, the language and whatnot. But I jumped right in, and I also got a seat on the Chiefs of Ontario Committee with health, and so we meet quarterly, and we haven't had a meeting yet, just because there was a lot of elections this summer within all the communities, so it was really hard to meet. Actually, also, to speak on a personal note, I did take some time off in May and August. I took some personal leave, and so now that I'm back, it's like I really appreciate appreciate the space that was mostly by the council chief. I really respect that that they gave that to me and also the grantee. Things at the provincial level are Jordan's principal and IEC. And, you know, the new changes of Jordan's principal, it's such a, I don't want to call it a monster, but it is. Like, there's so many changes to Jordan's principal. I see now that people are getting claims from like 2 years ago. There's also a new matrix that's they're calling it a new matrix for application. So it's very different, and I'm sure every family within the territory has got these changes as we have suffered right across the board. That Chico Ontario committee allows you to actually sit on, they asked me to sit on the national committee with AFN. So I also sit on the national health committee chief committee. So right now we're in the total structure of that committee, and we're doing strategic planning in November. And again, just to see what things look like region-wide. And when I say region-wide, the things look by province. And we're all trying to agree as to what our common goals are. And that's such a huge one, you know, like the territories out west, the Maritimes, everyone has issues with NIC. Also, another big one is again, basically at the national level, and going to that table directly as to how it can be more easier, you know, to work with, for instance, as it is not anymore. Another thing that's making its way is made medically assisted death. That's something that's been brought to the table at the national level, and it's something that conversations, even at our own table, has been very uncomfortable. And but again, it's conversations that need to happen. Someone waves, and I don't even know who that is. Okay. You know, one thing too, I guess, another portfolio that I have is social development. And in April, the city of Timmins submitted a plan to have their newest relocation and encampment of their homelessness to go to Pine Street. And that's across the street from the dump. Like, that was the initial site, was across the street from the dump. And I was so upset by that. I was so offended because, you know what, there was a stat that was given to me. So out of all the homeless people in Timmins, an area, up to 60% of those people are Indigenous. Over 60%. And out of that 60%, 80% of those people are from Mushkegowuk territory. That's a really hard-hitting stat. And I can say that walking around Timmins, I see people that I grew up with, you know, and it's hard. I see family on the street. I see my friends on the street. And for me, this issue is very personal. And so I really carry this closely with me, the homelessness within Timmins. Also, I visit the living space and as to what that looks like. And right now, unfortunately, living space in Timmins was under a massive layoff. And, you know, and that's going to affect our people too. And there's so many issues there. Just trying to work with that and be a voice at the table to really ensure that our people are safe. So by extension, to ensure that safety, I've been working with the Timmins Police Chief and having that relationship, with the police chief and working with the Indigenous Advisory Committee of Timmins Police, homelessness is such a big thing. And so it's very much a big priority for me. Also, child welfare. With the Ontario Final Settlement Agreement, that coming down, we've seen it all play out at ASN what that looks like, with Ontario going on its own. Whereas, it was supposed to be a national settlement agreement, but Ontario chose to do that, and the nations that went with them. So, we talk about Indigenous Representative Organization, the IRO, but still we're still very much a part of that. And going forward, if we choose to go that way with the Indigenous Representative Organization, we're going to have to really look at what that relationship will look like and how it'll change. It will be most definitely a new relationship, and how will that, and what services from that will be affected. Because right now, Mushkegowuk, we sit on that Chief Committee of Child Youth and Family Services. We sit on that committee and they let us have a vote. And I never was involved with child welfare before until it came to my desk as a portfolio. And it's something most definitely that's been a learning curve. And it's sad. We have so many children that take care within our territory. And, working with agencies and, with the family, the Vanguard program with prevention. And that's what I had to learn to with prevention, with protection, with apprehension, all these different things. And the processes and stages that every family goes through. And having like a great director that we work with at Mushkegowuk. And that's the thing too. We have really great directors that specialize in each of their fields at Mushkegowuk. So when something happens, we look to them at Mushkegowuk. I go to the director in charge of that particular department, and I ask if they really do and how to move forward. The lands and resources. So I don't know if most people don't know, but that's where I started in Mushkegowuk. Back in 2017, I started in Mushkegowuk and started in land. I worked with Ern Chichu, and I was a policy analyst, and I did that for a couple of years, and then I started working on a ring of fire with him. So a lot of my training and my learning, my knowledge came from learning in land and resources department. So also with my late grandfather, Bobby Vincent, he always taught us about the land, and so I really hold all his teachings close when it comes to the land. And again, when it comes to land issues, I'm very fierce, in terms of protection, resource development, like how do we do this in a safe way. Again, but it's all up to the community. We're just here to support and advocate on their behalf if needed and unreflected. I did step away from the lands and resource file for a bit. There was a lot of things I had on my plate, so I did step away from lands and resources. It took me to really great places this file because I got to meet with the premier a couple of times, met with him. I really put Mushkegowuk back on the map, as to his radar. And then, the Grand Chief was sending me to meetings and, being able to plan that. It was really good. The feedback was great. So now I'm back on the file, so to speak, and right away, like on Monday, I'm going to Ottawa to meet with other ministers and officials to really push the file of the conservation project. The grantee talked about treaties and the treaty rights of our people. What I deal with it in a very different aspect where I actually, I work with the treaty document itself. I have a really great relationship with Archives Ontario, education, and Dr. Emily Ferry invited me to go to a viewing of the treaty, and my great grandfather was a signatory, had to see into that treaty, so it was quite emotional to see it, his text where his name was. So from there, I've had a pretty significant relationship with Archives Ontario and the curator there. So we're doing a kind of like a pilot project, so to speak, with the treaty, with education, and another department at the Mushkegowuk, Nation Building, where the Lieutenant Governor of Ontario wants to hold and host the treaty of, within our office of during treaty recognition in that first week of November. So we were invited to participate and provide academic support for children. But this academic support will be specific to Mushkegowuk and the Mushkegowuk people. So from there, eventually, with the relationship with Archives Ontario, we were able to take the treaty to the children of Mushkegowuk community and to show them the significance, of the treaty and why it's so important. And again, just to do this run in Toronto is really, it's okay, what do we need to speak from here? To bring to the community. One thing about the treaty that everyone must understand and realize is that it is so delicate. And the room has to be temperature controlled, it has to be carried a certain way, it has to be encased a certain way. Everything about it is so delicate. So when we bring it to the community, it has to be very specific, like with details, because everything has to be going on. So even we wanted to bring it during winter road, but even that is kind of in question because of the coldness and the parchment of the people. So anyway, so we're working on that. I'm really happy that this is something now together with Archives that we can bring forward within the territory. But I know one thing I have been working on very hard is the relationship that I create with people and the relationships that I create with different organizations. As together we do things. We accomplish things together. And working with the Timmins mayor, having her, as an ally, has been great. A lot of my work does focus on the urban parts of Mushkegowuk and Timmins. I do live in Timmins. That does not mean that I do not travel or do not attend issues of bringing in the north or further south like Sault Ste. Marie and Chapel. Oh, another table that I really enjoy is the Ontario Northline table. And that's something we usually meet biannually, but we haven't met yet this year because of when they wanted to meet was actually our chief Sunday. So, growing up on the train, I see a lot of people at the table that were, just starting out, like the ticket. I remember there was a ticket agent. Now he's the director of sales. The conductor, a former conductor, is now the director of engineering. And so it's really great to see the people that I know at the table and how they evolved in their own careers and now still continuing that service from this double end country, I guess you could say, an area. And concerns that in terms of security, I always bring those concerns up when it comes to the training because I see that firsthand myself. You know, why does it, why are we not required to show our ID? You know, that was a big one. And that was brought to me a lot of times because, you know, points, when we lower the plane, when we board the plane, we have to show our ID 3 times. So, but when I'm trained, we don't even need to show it at all. And why is that? So that's something I'm continually bringing up and then I'm constantly, really, I'm fighting for it because I want there to be more stringent policy in terms of boarding that train. The safety and security, you know, of elders, children, everybody, because it's so apparent what goes on that train. And I see it, people inbox me and tell me, hey, Natasha, did you see this post about this person on the train? So I just know that I take all those seriously, and whatever comes to me, I take very seriously, and I take it with me, and I adjust it as fast as I can. Well, women issues is since I'm the only woman on the executive, I've been the one that that I hold the file of women's issues. There's so many different things in terms of women's issues. You know, MMIW, G2, and that in itself, you know, is so sensitive and delicate. And I appreciate everything that within that area. And you know, just going forward, I hold all that close to me. I also work. Actually, you know, one thing is that I try to go to as many events as I can to support a lot of local initiatives and people, just people in general, you know, and that's how it's in my role too, is really offering support. I went to a witches walk where we supported the Calgary Chief Center for Constant, and we all dressed up as witches, but we had to pay, and then our payment went to women in crisis. It was a really fun way to raise money and provide support, not only support to women, but support to a female leader as well. And to be really, to have women's issues at the forefront, and that's so important. Oh, another thing, okay, I guess this will be my last thing that I'll share. I have quite a few more things to share, but I want to be famous for some time here. Last thing, what guides me in my role is our election code and our code of conduct and anything that governs us at Mushkegowuk. So I really follow that closely. One of the things in our election code, it states that any non-speaking grand chief or deputy grand chief must actively learn the Mushkegowuk language. And I have two amazing teachers sitting up here with me, and they talk to me in Greek, but I think they speak me here. But I just want to say that I'm actually taking 3 classes with my Uncle Norm, and I just finished week 5 yesterday, and it's been so empowering. It's been so empowering to learn our language and to really, you know, speak it. As an Indigenous Mushkegowuk woman, I hold my identity very close to me, and I'm very proud of, you know, that I'm from Piwakainos and I am from Missouri. I'm very proud of that, and that, you know, that I'm a descendant from a treaty signatory, and not only that, but the people that have raised me, you know, my parents, my grandparents, and so that's really what guides me on this journey of being a leader. In closing, I really hope that people feel free to contact me. I know a lot of people do it on Facebook, and I don't mind that at all. Whatever is the easiest way for people to contact me. And I do want to hear back from you. And I know people have been very open with me so far, and I appreciate that, and I really respect that. And I hope that I continue to give you all of these things to continue that relationship with me for the next year and 10 months. Yes.
Mache, it's good to be here today. Even though I live here, I have been away for quite a while for personal reasons and family reasons. As you know, my name is Amos Wesley, Deputy Grand Chief of Mushkegowuk County. I moved to Moose Factories in February of 2024. I was living in Timmins with my family, but we all moved here. But this summer has been different because of family issues, and we have to be near a full functioning hospital. It's been really a busy over 2 years now since I had this position. It's been a lot of traveling, it's been a lot of meetings, it's been a lot of speaking, a lot of talking about different issues that faces us as Mushkegowuk people all along this coast. And I'm going to speak in my own language as well. In fact, we began on the exhibition of 2024. As a Marshal Mission, one of them, but you come in there and you bump the sun off, you didn't make a step now, and then I could be on the island of Jet. When I first made my speech here in the community center, I was 11 years old. It was a public speaking contest with every child from each community. I came in third place. It was a comedy speech or something called "What You Eat Is What You Are." Anyways, Mushkegowuk Jamian Deo my metrogamic wishes and give have honesty. One Mara, me and I am a wash at Mara, if you had table, the Senecan, the first town, the table you did. There's been here for 2 funerals as well. One for late Bill Rudit, which was a big member of Mushkegowuk Council, and former Deputy Chief Earl Chichu, who was, they were very respected people in the community. And I felt that I had to come here for oaths. This past summer, we had a meeting with Minister of Northern Development, George Perry. I was with Grand Chief at that time. And we also met with the Privy Council of Office, which works closely with the Prime Minister's office. And I had brought some subjects up which were, I think, important to our communities. The high cost of living in our Mushkegowuk isolated communities is very important, very high topic, and impacts us all very much. The high cost of living is a very hot topic just for any regular normal Canadian who lives in the city, but more so for our people who are isolated because our price of food is very expensive. So I brought up these issues of having all-season roads now, especially a bridge for Moose Factory to connect to the mainland. But at the same time, I've asked for support for more practicing of our treaty rights, the right to hunt, the right to fish, the right to trap. We supported our Woods Creek First Nation with their safety initiative by providing over $1.6 to $1.9 million. I'm also a board member of Nandigo. I represent Mushkegowuk Tribal Council on a 7-member board. And since spring, there's been a lot of problems at Nandigo because all the finance staff were fired or quit. And since that, we've had problems with our auditors. I also sit on as the ex officio of Mushkegowuk Board, Directors of Education. And we met for the first time about a month ago, and we're going to have planning more things for education as a region. IRO is another big topic for us in Mushkegowuk. Indigenous representative organization, which NAN holds for us all at this point in time. But we are asking as Mushkegowuk people if we can have that status as an IRO, because we as Mushkegowuk people are strong. We have a strong political voice. Our elders who made up this Mushkegowuk Council back in the 80s had strong political voices. And we must continue those strong political voices for them and teach our young people. So we have a seat in the table with government, have a more of a say. As you know, Bill 5 and Bill C5 were introduced this last summer without our informed consent. And since then, we have been fighting. We have been protesting. We have had meetings. And James Bay Seaport was also introduced in that. There wouldn't be a James Bay Seaport if we all got into the Mushkegowuk Marine Conservation Project. Mostly all our communities are into this, have agreed to this Marine Conservation Project, but they are working on their own, which we support. We, the Mushkegowuk, will not impose anything that each community doesn't want to do. We will respect their decisions. We will support their decisions. Mushkegowuk supports Chief Oche in suing for increase in annuities for Treaty 9. It is time that we fight for that. Because over 20 years ago, we signed a treaty with only $4 a year for each person. And since that time, the governments have become really rich, and we are still living in poor conditions. Well, I was off for about 5 weeks this past year because of my family issues with my spouse. Even though I still wanted to work, and I said I wanted to work, but the response I got when I posted about this was family first. So I listened to the people when they say family first and took some time off. I'm really happy to be here again, and but I'm have to go back to Timmins again. My family is not really, my wife is not really allowed to come back to move back because of her issue with, she's not allowed by her doctor. And Moose Factory General Hospital doesn't have that capacity for my wife. And as you know, this session is called Listening to the People 2025 tour. And I really like that suggestion that was made by Paul Nicolator of Moose Factory, who said we should change it to listening to our people. And I just want to say thank you, thank you for listening to me and thanks for having us. Although I feel that there should be more people here, but it was like this in Natasha as well, and we went there about 2 weeks ago. And I hope we do this again next year, but in the evenings, something that was talked about in that post. And thank you all, everybody.
So I see that. And there were a few questions online as well. So we'll go ahead with here in-house and then we'll go on.
I'm Stan Ludick from Moose Factory, Moose Cree First Nation. Make my comment very brief. I work for the Moose River Heritage Hospitality Association in Moose Factory. It's a tri-jurisdictional association made up of Moose Cree First Nation, Quebec, and the town of Moose Lee. Moose Cree is our biggest funder. We get funding from the other two groups. Our organization is more history, arts, identity. We do community things like that on the island and in Moose Lee. And we have a great tradition here in Moose Factory in terms of music, in terms of the old St. Thomas Church that a lot of our elders in the past like going to, so that's one of our projects, restoration. But our group, the Moose River Heritage Hospitality Association, had a chance to go to the Mushkegowuk Nunavik Arts Collective earlier this summer, 2025, and we're very impressed by what the artist collective is trying to do, and we like the support of the arts, whether that be artists, crafts, carving, music, photography, whatever that may be. We find that very interesting because our organization at this factory, at this D level, is trying to really support and document our history, our music, our fiddle traditions, step dance traditions. I'm a very good step dancer myself, so I can help with that locally. But as you all know, we probably all step dance here. So we're really excited because we think that artist collective could really support our group here too, and looking at Galen Boulanger, as his last name is, but we're trying to work up a partnership with him so that we we can build our arts committee. We're building an arts committee here in East It's made up of Muslim people, respect the artists, and we want to support the whole artist because we think with um, the vision statement, the mission statement of the Oceanic group, it fits well to help empower youth, and adults and elders, whoever it might be. Because we not only do we have to preserve our music and our arts traditions, our crafts traditions, art, music, what have you, photography, film, whatever you're doing. It's a way for our current youth generations to reflect what they see in the contemporary island or contemporary reserves. And it's the artists who are reflecting in some ways what's happening on the political, social, and all that. I forget who it was. It may have been Bob Dylan. Said the artists are the ones that are going to awaken. The artists are the ones that reflect what's actually going on in the communities through relationships, through what they're feeling growing up. It's very important that we create this kind of collectives in the community. So I just wanted to say that's a really good initiative, and keep getting more funding if you can. Thank you.
Thank you, Stan. I appreciate that. Again, just to go off what Stan said, who we are as Indigenous people, as Mushkegowuk people, is so reflected in our art, and it tells a story. Because if you look at our art, it's always pictures of the land, the animals, the flowers. So it's like we really have to honor and give our artists space to really continue that. So we represent. There were some questions online, so I'll read them, and I talked with the grant chief, I just need the response. Can I do the online one first? Because I already started. Sorry, Karina, I'll conclude this. I thought that you and Dan were speaking together. Sorry. All right. So this one was from Mary Rose Kamaladis. She says, I feel Muslims being left out of programs, especially with youth. I see Timmins offer programs, but I don't see nothing in why. I'll be very honest with you, Mary, and I'm going to take this with me. Really, I've had that call before where why weren't programs offered in Muslims. And it's unfortunate, and I'm going to say it like this, and because we see, I guess because we see it in municipalities, and that keeps us in our oversight as well. Because Timmins is a municipality. And this is some of and if that's what people want, services and not within the community, then that's something that we need to on. So thank you for bringing this to our attention and really finding the partners to work with as well to offer. And I hope that answers the question. If it isn't, feel free to contact me directly here. And so this is a two-part question. This is from Sherry Bailey Matman. So the first comment was, I believe it's time to help out the members who are ill and their escorts. Contact Health Canada appropriately and that year early season. When it comes to members of the escorts, the federal government, I believe. And that's the thing with services, and we have to work with them, and we have that business community. And this kind of leads into the second question where it says, can we help with meetings and escorts that need proper meals and food and for them to be helping and on a personal note, my mother went to vegan animals quite often, and I know what you're talking about, Sherry, and the meals were great, and that is something else that's been brought to our table as well, and that's something that we have been working on, and we know that it's ongoing, and especially when it came to the food, because we need sufficient food to properly heal our body and to really get better. And a lot of people were saying that but a lot of the dishes served weren't appropriate. No one likes them really. But this is something that we are working on. I know the Grand Chief Office directly with this, and I hope I answered your question, Sherry. If I haven't, again, please feel free to reach out.
My name is Karina Pellet. So though I know this is to listen to the people, and I'm not from here, but I've been teaching here and I've been working with youth since 2007. I was a teacher in Adwapskat for 5 years, and I've been working at Mushkegowuk Public School for 10 years. I'm also raising 2 children, so I'm a mother of children from Adwapskat. So I bring my context to my role. So I've been listening today, and a lot of concerns, people talking about healthcare, talking about education and youth. And since the start, when I was in Adwapskat, working with the youth, I just see the power of the Mushkegowuk youth in our region. And last year I learned about Queen's University and their dedication to building a health science campus here in Moosonee, across the river, to support students from our area. And this project was funded through the MasterCard Foundation. And we've been doing a lot of background work, and it's moving forward. And there's a lot of things that this could bring to the youth and to education and to health. I myself has traveled to Kingston as a mother of an Indigenous child and had to stay at Yaganano, and I know how hard it is. I was there last week, and somebody came down and they're with a 6-year-old child, and their appointment was canceled. So they went all the way down there for an appointment, came back up. I have friends who've gone, had to go out to Kingston for a month to wait to have their baby. So I understand the health, the challenges of healthcare in our region. So what Queen's is proposing, Queen's Health Sciences, is to build a campus right here in our region, in Moosonee. And the curriculum that would be delivered would be a decolonized curriculum and courses specific to our area. And this university is specific to students in our area. That is the goal. So we're looking at a facility and a residence. So we are looking forward to working with various departments. We've already been working with the Mushkegowuk Education Department with Debbie Ross. She's been advising us in some of our plans. We've also talked with Mushkegowuk Youth, and they were going to be doing a campus tour, so we were talking with Jason. Unfortunately, that tour got postponed due to the strike, but we are looking forward to working with all different departments of Mushkegowuk and listening and hearing how we can support the youth in education and health. Thank you so much.
The board has spoken, and he wants to go over the practice like. Anyway, to me with I give you the question. More as I give the stomach, they want to act in not so much know about the ship. I just wanted to thank all the people that came here and listened, and also to those that on the Facebook Live.